to the Man United agenda. It's 8:30, and you can set your watch by us because it's time to go in. Yesterday we had great news, and we're going to follow up today with further interesting stories that are coming out in the papers today. So make sure you tune in to the Man United agenda. Yes, we are back. We are back. It's the Man United agenda every night at 8:30. That's right. Without fail, we will be here delivering. That's what we do. We've got some new panel tonight. Rebel, you've been on the last couple of nights. We've had some really good news coming through. You were here when we announced Frankie de Jong and Tyrell Malacia. Are you still excited? How are you feeling, Rebel?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing today, obviously, it's a bit quieter in terms of incomings. There are still obviously many deals that we have yet to talk about later on the show, but the fallout in terms of what it's going to mean for the left backs that are at the club is really something that's catching my eye at the moment. So that would be something that I'd be really interested in discussing with the panel later on. But there's definitely a lot going on at the club at the moment, and it seems that Ten Hag is finally getting a bit of traction, and the board are working to steer the ship in the way that he wants it.
Brilliant. I'm going to come to you, Shah. I haven't seen you for a few days, so I haven't really got much feedback from you about, just quickly, briefly, about the two new signings. How excited are you? And how you feeling about seeing the preseason training started up as well?
Yeah, I think obviously this week's been a positive week all in all. Monday we were talking what's going to happen, in our backroom chats, etc. And now we're talking about a different dynamic and to the middle of the week, coming towards the end of the week, which is very exciting. I think the Frankie de Jong deal, obviously, he was away on international break. He needed to get his head space clear, etc., which we're going to accept. When it's a big deal like that, these sort of things sometimes do take time. I think with the earlier signings that we've seen from a lot of the other clubs, their business negotiations probably started in January time, i.e. Liverpool, they were the Fulham signing, maybe the Nunes conversation was something that happened as well. And Haaland chose City after we took our time. So it's nice to see things happening. I suppose the Malacia deal has been even more of a surprise for everyone. The way we come in, I think it's a bit of shrewd business. 15.47 or whatever it is, like £1 million. Let's just say 16, round it up, is a good bit of business. We haven't spent a low sum like that to get a player with quite a little bit more dynamic and potential than what we've seen, and maybe wants to play the way that Ten Hag does. And the fact that he chose us is another good sign that we can still attract players at all levels. All in all, how do I feel about training as well? I think with training, it's nice to see the players. I've been seeing clips that have come out from Manchester United directly today that, you can see Ten Hag giving direction, instructions. And the thing that I liked about the clip that they showed was there was actually a lot of the youth that have been there from Monday, the Shaw Tyres, the Garnachos. These guys were all involved, and it was them. He was giving that direction and coaching, which was nice to see. Instead of this on the side.
Who does that? Who does the crossbar?
There's a few managers, right, that we've all seen on the side like this, right, over the last time. So it was nice to see the coach physically involved, as your first team manager would always kind of be in the old days. So it was nice to kind of see that little bit of refreshing impetus. So that's me.
Big up. Colin, how you doing, bruv? I'll ask you a couple of questions, obviously, about new signings, how you feel about that, and also just going on to the training. I mean, you've seen him barking out orders already. He's a coach. This is what he does. He coaches. And even when the cameras are on, he's still dictating. You can still hear his voice dominating. So how are you feeling about everything right now?
I'm feeling quite positive now, to be fair. I was a little bit worried before last week. When I was on the show, I was saying, obviously, I was getting a little bit concerned about some of the transfer signings that we were going to make. But the last couple of days have picked me up. And now that I've seen Ten Hag actually training the team, seen the clips of him doing it, I feel a lot more confident. And I can honestly say I think we can have a very, very good season coming up this year. And we're going to progress a lot more as well, especially with the signings that we're getting in.
Good. Just to pick one. What do you think? Well, we're going to talk about the left back later, but Frankie de Jong, how key do you think he's going to be for us going forward?
Frankie de Jong is going to be the pivotal role. It's going to be the best signing and the signing that we need all season for this season. He's going to bring in a system that Ten Hag is wanting to play. He's going to know how to play that because he's played under it before. So that's a positive. He's going to bring in determination. You know, he's got, not only is he like one of the best players that we're going to have in our team, but he's probably going to be one of going out there and proving doubters wrong. Because I've seen it a lot on Twitter. I've seen it a lot on news feeds. A lot of people are doubting that Frankie de Jong can hack it in the Premier League. And I think he's got a point to prove, and he knows that he can hack it, and he's going to show the whole of the Premier League this season exactly what he can do.
Fair enough.
Amen.
I do.
Amen.
I think he will. Just going to go through the comments quickly. Got Brush in the house with his popcorn out as usual. TalkMU in the background. How you doing? Pat Lawler says Martinez has been labelled the butcher by his Ajax teammates because his intelligence and aggression on the pitch. I like it a lot, he says in the Arnie voice. Bath Time saying, where's Mr. B? Got a bone to pick with him after yesterday's show. He's also saying, what a lovely kitchen that SHAH has. You can give us a little
Thanks, mate.
Through the keyhole tour later, SHAH. Eddie saying, good evening. Good evening to you, Eddie. Also want to say hi to Stumpy Candletop. He's in the house. Welcome. Eddie saying, be great to see you guys officially announced and move. These guys officially announced and move on to the next options, talking about the transfers we had yesterday, because it's not been official yet. Barton saying, I like the clip on Twitter. Go and check it out for the Man United agenda. 3 players moving the ball up the pitch from the half spaces and overlaps out wide. Looks promising. Eddie saying, yeah, hands on. Ten Hag gives a good impression so far on the training ground. Barton saying, I pray to God De Jong and Bruno can play together and Bruno doesn't clutter up the spaces and lose the ball every 5-10 seconds. Finally, Pat Lawrence is saying, what's the story, lads? Evening to the Famalang. Yes, so we're ready to go. And if you want to know what the story is, well, the first thing we're going to be discussing tonight is all about, yes, it's going to be another Ajax player, and it's not him. It's him. It's Lisandro Martinez, an Argentine who was signed by Ajax in 2019. A great summer heist. Man United and Chelsea moved to snatch away Arsenal's key transfer targets. This is a heist. This is a hijack we're doing here. The Gunners have also been eyeing up Martinez to shore up things at the back. Arteta's men failed to keep a clean sheet in the last 10 league matches. Had they been more solid defensively, they may have managed to keep their place in the top 4. The Argentine is primarily a centre-back. However, he also has experience playing in central midfield or as a left-back. Very versatile. He would be a welcome addition at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal submitted an estimated £35 million bid for the Ajax man early in the week, but the clubs are now apparently holding out for about $43 million. That's from Talk Sport. Claims Man United have also entered the race, offering $40 million for the 20-year-old. First of all, I'm going to come to you, Rebel. How do you feel about this deal? Because first of all, let's just give a little talk about Martinez. What do you know about Martinez as a defender? Because I'm going to start with he's only 5'9". So over to you.
Well, you are taking some of my material out of my mouth, but I'll forgive you this time. But last season, he was actually voted Ajax Player of the Year for the 2021-2022 season. So he's obviously somebody that's well thought of and well appreciated at Ajax. He's done the league in the 2020-21 season and the 21-22 season. They also did the Cup on the 2020-21 season. He's appeared 7 times for Argentina, and he would probably be I think it's the 3rd Argentinian that we would have at Manchester United now, given that we have the youngsters Garnacho and Fernandez both in the Argentinian setup at the moment. But the interesting thing for me with this deal is that there's a bit of versatility to him, and we did have great for that type of a player before. We have had the likes of John O'Shea, who's played all across the back line and in the midfield. Now, this guy does seem that there's a bit more about him than John O'Shea, who kind of just slotted in everywhere. But the option of being able to play him as a defensive midfielder could mean that he could be maybe an extra bit of protection in front of possibly a Maguire-Varane partnership at centre-back in some games next season. So to add a little bit of extra defensive steel. So again, that is something that does inspire the confidence. However, the one thing that I am seeing is there are reports that Arsenal are a bit further down the road on this one than we are. So maybe it could prove that we might be too late to the business table this time, but you never know. We managed to hijack the MAISEY deal. Can we do it again?
Come to you, Colin. So you've heard it all. I just want a bit more information about this guy, Martinez. He's only been in the Dutch league 3-4 seasons now, but he's a winner. He's a winner. He's won everything there. But is it always hard to sort of gauge how good a player is playing in that division?
I think it is hard to gauge a player on a division such as the Eredivisie. It's not as competitive as the Premier League, but then again, he has played Champions League football, so you can always look at those stats. He's come up against some of the best people in the world in the Champions League, so you can always go on them stats. I mean, as we all know, I'm a big stat man. I love my stats.
That's right.
So I had a little look around. So defensive, that's what he's going to be here for. He's coming to be this defensive unit for us. So this is just Champions League stats. I haven't looked into his Eredivisie stats. So 2.26 tackles per 90, 2.17 interceptions per 90, 0.52 blocks per 90. He can get up as well. He can push further up. So pass succession rate, 88.9%. So he's not only going to be this defensive unit for us, he can also get the ball further up and help, ease the pressure of us constantly being attacked and get that ball out, and he can actually pick a pass, which I think is something we need. As much as I think Harry Maguire might have a good season under Erik ten Hag, I think he'll probably be dropped and it'll be Varane and this guy Martinez.
Just looking, Bath Time's asking you, what is his duels like?
His duels.
Do you have any data on that?
So his dual success ratio is 69.4%, and he's averaging about 10.5 duels per 90.
Okay, and this is all Champions League football, so maybe it's a better quality than the league.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I had to look into, because I didn't think it was really fair to compare his league stats to a Premier League player. Like I said, it's kind of different class and level, so...
Well, you are the data man. You've definitely dropped some data today. Over to you, Shah. I've got a comment here I'm going to read out quickly. It's from Bath Time again. He's saying John O'Shea was a hell of a player, talking about his versatility, which Rebel was touching on. He said, if there's any need for that sort of standard, we should sign him instantly. So do you agree that we need sort of players that are versatile? We've heard he can play left back. He's left-footed. He can play the left side of the centre-back. And he also plays defensive midfielder. Is it another Heinzer in the making?
I think the other question is, can he do the keeper? Because John O'Shea was a keeper. He's played every single position. Yeah. I didn't want people to forget that about John O'Shea. He's put on that green shirt.
Well, he's well used to the green shirt, considering he was playing for the Republic of Ireland. But anyway.
So look, coming on to a bit more about Martinez. He's been a consistent 90 minutes player all the way throughout. He had a bit of muscle injury at the beginning of the season, towards the back end of the season. So he's finishing the season, with a muscle injury, which happened on April the 2nd. So prior to that, 90 minutes. All in all, he's had... Out of those 90 minutes, he had 3 goals. And I think that's something that's a little bit more better than some of our centre-backs have had in the last 3 years. So I think for us to see someone be there for 90 minutes and have a little bit of an unknown injury, the muscle injury, I can't tell you what that muscle was that was injured, but it was out for pretty much April and May. So hopefully he's had a chance to recover. He'll sign for us and we'll have a centre-back that can play and not get injured.
Before we go into the dealings and the transfer market and what's going on with him, I just want to focus a little bit more about him as a player, because there's a Scepter's in the house. How you doing? He said, I hope he's a good DM as well, because there will be games where that we won't be able to overwhelm the opponent's midfield. And I think we need a DM to take the ball and defend a little bit. Do you agree with that, Colin?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been saying for the last couple of times we've been on here, we need some sort of a central defensive-minded midfielder. I've been saying that. I can't see him playing as a DM.
No.
I can't see that. I can see him playing as a centre back or out on the side, sides, but as a central defensive midfielder, I don't think I can see him doing that. I think he'd just get overrun.
Okay, we've seen the other guy, the Mexican guy, play centre midfield a lot, or defensive midfield for the Ajax team under Ten Hag as well. So they're both technically good players and they're technically good on the ball. Maybe the size might be an issue if you're coming into the Premiership, but then if you've got possession of the ball, that does help, I suppose. Another question here, statement here from Pat Lawless. He says, "You never guess who Martinez's idol was growing up. None other than our very own Gabriel Heinze. And what a baller. Was Heinze that good? He used to play centre back and left back at times, didn't he? Aggressive player. I don't know if you guys remember him, but I think it's a left.
He went to Real Madrid afterwards as well.
That's right. He being left
because he had to fill in Roberto Carlos's shoes.
And Patrice Evra kind of edged him out as well. But coming to you, Rebel, I mean, it's about this versatility thing. Do you think that's really important to have a good squad where players can fill in and wherever?
Well, I think in terms of the tactical options that are going to be available to Ten Hag, having that string to his bow is obviously a plus. And just to address the height issue, Kante, who's played for Chelsea and for Leicester and won Premier Leagues and all sorts of accolades, he's not exactly a giant either, and he's more than able of expressing himself on the pitch. So in terms of his height, I don't think we're going to have any problems in that regard. But in terms of actually being able to do an adequate job in other positions, that will be obviously a good option for Ten Hag if he wants to set out his team against certain opponents to give a different look in order to maybe confuse the opponent and possibly press home an advantage by changing up the way that he's setting up. So having him being able to play on occasion in front of the back two could be a key tactic that Ten Hag might utilise on occasion throughout the season. And as you said, left side of the defence, maybe we could see him in a 3 if the occasion dictates that that's what's required. And again, if we didn't want to make a tactical sub and our left back was getting tired, maybe we could see him shift over there and cover. When you have those options available to you, it does allow different tactical changes as games progress.
Just to go off topic a little bit here, I'm going to ask you, Shah, do you think Ten Hag's stuck with one philosophy? Do you think that Rebel's talking about mixing things up for different games? Can you imagine him changing his team up or change his strategy up for certain games? Say we're playing Liverpool or the Man Cities of this world?
I think modern day football means you have to change. You can't go in with the same tactics every game. Every team is guessing what your team, what your team's going to come out like. Well, you don't know which 11's going to turn out, especially when you're playing the likes of Liverpool, City, Tottenham, who've got depth in their squads. At one point, we were of the same ilk, had enough depth to be able to say you don't know what our 11 looks like. It's only been over these last couple of seasons due to injuries and the consistency of certain players in those positions being the most reliable players that we had available to get into those positions, that we became a predictable team. You had every single team in the Premier League just know what we were about. We as fans knew what we were about. Like there wasn't nothing, we've had comments, identity. And I think the great thing about Ten Hag is the fact is that he's played, well, not played, like in the sense of he's managed and been under people like Pep Guardiola. He's obviously worked in the Bundesliga. He's had Champions League exposure, Ajax, which he's developed a full youth to senior structure. He's obviously knows the club. Like Ajax's value as fans to him will mean a lot. And obviously when he comes to us, he's going to have the same love. So I'm sure he's going to feel the same kind of passion and energy that we're going to be able to feed him, because everything is very exciting. But, one of the things that really impressed me about Ten Hag is his mentality. He's a bit of a perfectionist and he wants to win. There's nothing in his mind. His attitude to drive you, to push you, to make you work harder. You can see by the lads in Ajax, let's look at them throughout the progression of the last 3 years since he was involved. Their football's cleaner. They play with 90 minutes. It's end to end. It's not. Oh, you know what? 60 minutes. I'm going to stop running after the ball. So it's going to be good to see that level of enthusiasm and the fact that he can actually adapt his players with the right squad. Once, hopefully, we can mold 60% of these players into the way that we want them to be. I.e., you couldn't rely on Rashford replacing Ronaldo as our 9, and at one point he was the only option, and then you had Elanga coming in. So, if he can get that versatility out of all those different players in different areas, then I think we're in a great position to obviously be thinking of these tactics. That the 4-2-2 Ragnick might come back out, the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. I don't think we'll hopefully not see that again for a while, because we'll have players actually running after the ball and doing some defensive work. But my point is that the league itself is so paced, and everyone now plays very interesting football by holding, by being attacking, being a lot more about football brain instead of aggression and sliding and taking out and being a bully on the ball. It's a little bit. There's a lot of class throughout the whole of the league, and obviously different standards means you have to have different quality. But then I say that, and you've got teams like Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham, that are all changing their directions at the moment, and at a pace that if we don't make these adaptations and he doesn't make these adaptations with these squads, then we will be back in trouble again. But hopefully with these players coming in, I think we're in a very good space and a very good time.
Okay, that's interesting. That so you think like getting versatile players can fill different positions, and having a manager that can be versatile and not just be rigid with one sort of style of football. Just going to Bath Time and Vaughan here saying, I'm looking at Martinez's stats now. Sorry, Colin, but Bath Time, I think, can match you. I'd like to see a head-to-head on data and stats between the two of you, because you're both geniuses. He says, I'm looking at Martinez's stats now, and as you'd imagine, he's appalling at blocks, interceptions, and aerial, but his passing, carries, and genuine free standard deviations from the mean. I don't know what it means there, but he's basically saying the physical side of the game, blocks, interceptions, aerials, not as good, but the passing and possession-based footballer, that's where he's at, really, I'd say. A couple more here. Pat Lawless is saying, Martinez's weaknesses, his head in the ball and balance. So does this guy need Harry Maguire beside him? You can thank me later, OMONDI. Yes, thank you very much. Got a couple more here. OMONDI saying, Bath Time saying he's going to be out soon, but you can watch it later. He weighs 75 kilos. He's not very heavy. Oh, we're talking Bath Time here. We don't want to talk about Bath Time.
Yeah.
Bath Time saying Ranieri 4-4-2-2. 4-2-2-2. He's never coming back again. It's been taken out in the shots. And I want to say hi to Jordan as well. So, all right, let's go into the transfer dealings here. Obviously, we know that Arsenal have gone in first. Arsenal apparently need him, even though they've got the guy from Marseille coming back on loan. They've got Ben White. They've got the left-footed Gabriel. They're really sort of strengthening him in that area, aren't they? I think Chelsea are the team that really needed centre-backs at the moment. So where do we stand, Colin? I'll start with you. Where do we stand as in regards to this signing? Is it only because he's an Ajax player and he played under Ten Hag that we're interested in him? Or do you think this is a genuine move for someone like him?
I think that this is a genuine move. Obviously, it will be down to, obviously, it's an Ajax player. Ten Hag knows him very well. But I also think that we're only going for Martinez because we couldn't get Ten Hag's number one target. And everybody knows who that is, and that was Timber. Right. We can't get Timber, so we've fallen back onto the second man, which is Martinez, which I don't mind. I've seen Martinez play on clips on YouTube. I've watched little compilation things. He looks like a good player. His stats seem okay. Yeah, okay, he's got a bit of flaw. He's got some flaws, like they're saying he's not very good in the air every now and again. But I have seen him in clips out-jumping Haaland. Haaland's not an easy person to out-jump or out-muscle, and he's done that. So if he can do it, and he's young as well. He's still got time to grow. So there's always that.
What's the difference, Rebel, between him and Timber? Because we are being linked with two centre-backs here from the same club. Why do you think we've got him for Timber ahead of him, it seems, according to speculation? What's the difference between the two players, do you reckon?
Well, for me, obviously, Ten Hag has worked every day with those two players for the last 2 years while he was at Ajax, and he's obviously looking at Timber and thinking what he can bring to the squad and how he can utilize him and how he matches up maybe with the current stock. And then he's looking at Martinez and kind of saying, well, he's not exactly what Timber brings to the squad, so I might have to alter my plans with others. But I suppose, again, maybe there mightn't be that much of a difference in terms of Ten Hag's preference. Obviously, what they bring to the pitch remains to be seen in the English Premier League. But for me, I think if Martinez can come and he can coexist with our Varans and our Maguires, who would more than likely be the two that would be remaining from our senior defenders from last year, because I'd imagine we're going to see Bailly moving on. We're going to probably see Jones moving on. So that would leave us with Lindelof, Varane, Maguire, and possibly now Martinez if we manage to get that deal done. The size issue, again, for me, isn't a problem. I suppose he is turning 25 in January, so I can't imagine there'd be too much more of a growth spurt in him. But if he's got a leap in him, then clearly that's something he can overcome. Just kind of as by way of a segue, Antony Elanga in training nearly broke a world record for a box jump.
Yeah,
so
I see that.
I suppose size isn't everything. It's what you can do with your attributes.
It's a very good point. I was going to use that as well, the Antony Elanga one. I'm really surprised by that. He's putting in the work. I think Ronaldo, they're saying, has got a good influence on some of these players, and it's evident that they're really sort of training hard. We're seeing little montages like Rocky of these players on Instagram and that doing their sort of pre-season training on their own. What do you think, Shah, about Martinez? Do you think this is a realistic deal for us? Arsenal seem to be ahead of us. Chelsea needs centre-backs. I mean, if we don't get him, because the whole theme of this show was about hijacking the bid, like we did with the Lyon player, or the Terrell going to Lyon. So do you think it's important for us to hijack the bid because the bid's quite low at 40 million, which is kind of decent price for a centre-back these days?
We started this show a year ago, right? And we were talking about centre-backs and CDMs then. And Varane came in, right? And we thought that would fix the problem. But I don't know if you remember, me and your brother had that conversation and we were like, there's still a bit of injury proneness in him. And I never hoped for any player to be injured, anyone to have anything bad happen to him. But we obviously hoped that we would see that Champions League Varane that we've all gone to see. And we've seen that when he comes on, 110% most switched on player out of that back four line, right? Now, the problem is we've had consistent injury problems with him. So he hasn't been getting a look in. Lindelof was obviously put aside. And can we all say that we're happy with Lindelof's performances? Well, do you know what? He's probably more consistent out of the best of a bad bunch, should we say, right? Then you got Bailly injured, and then he got never selected for whatever reason. I think that is sometimes what I see from Bailly is something that we all love to see. Put your body on the line. I think that one game that we said, let's go, I think there's a little clip of him kicking Ibrahimovic, and I was just thinking he's going to go kick ass when he's back. And literally the guy was flying around like Superman all over the pitch. And I think because he puts his heart on the line, we all had a lot of love for Bailly, and unfortunately it hasn't worked out. So we're in a bit of a dire situation for centre-backs, and this Martinez deal needs to be hijacked. Ten Hag knows him. He's going to know the qualities that he's going to be able to add and what attributes he brings in. Coming back to this kind of thing about him being a DM, he's played 15 times in that position. His position is a CB, but he's obviously a ball player, which is why I think Ten Hag is him, and we need a ball player as a CB.
So how realistic, in a word, Shah, is it really realistic to get him? When you see all these news reports, do you think it's going to happen?
I think like the option of having Timber was priority, like Colm said earlier, right? Obviously, that is something that was there. But this is why I think we've seen the Malaysia deal. It was a backup deal, maybe not the one that they wanted to go for initially, because maybe they had Timber coming in to cover wings, wing back positions, which you can do on both sides. So I think the Malaysia deal is because we're not getting Timber. Focus is now use that money to get Martinez. And then he's got pretty much
It's realistic. In fact, your opinion is realistic.
I think it's realistic. I think the conversations that have come out from the board and the club have actually been quite positive, and they want to invest and they want to see us get.
Let me ask the other guys, Column, Rebel, is this a realistic deal that you're seeing, or is it just pure transfer talk that Eddie hates to talk about?
Before we go into that, I just see a man. Bargev is in the chat. We did miss his super chat at the end of the show on Monday. We'd just like to thank you once again, Bargev. We mentioned you in last night's show, but unfortunately we didn't see you during the live. But thank you very much for your super chat, and it's much appreciated here by all on the United Agenda.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah, so just what do you think, Bargev? Is this a realistic deal? What do you think, Rebel? Realistic deal? Is it going to happen, or is it just paper talk just because it's an Ajax player? I mean, can we just break it down now? We're going to move on to the next subject.
I don't think it's any secret that Ten Hag wants a centre back. So realistic, absolutely, it's realistic. But the question is, can we get this done? You are going to have a number of failures when you go in late into deals that have been probably discussed between clubs for some time to come. Luckily, we got the MAISEY deal over the line. The question is then, will Ten Hag be enough of a factor to sway Martinez from maybe making the move to London and coming to Manchester? So I think it's definitely achievable, but we might be too late into the market for him.
And Colin, what do you think? Is this an achievable thing, which like Rebel's saying, which SHAH's possibly saying here, or do you just think it's like a load of just paper talk?
No, I'll keep it short and sweet. I think it's a reasonable deal and we could get it done, but I think we'll more than likely lose out because we've left it too late.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to move on now because we've spent a lot of time on this subject and it's important. I'm just going to my final word on it as well. I do like him as a player. He's not Roberto Ayala, who's also sort of 5'9". I don't see him as that sort of player, but maybe I need to watch him a little bit more before I commit to saying whether he's good enough or not. I do think these short centre backs is going to be an issue at some point. You've got the guy from Seville; he's short. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's like these are.
Otamendi at City, he was.
Yeah.
How big?
I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work because I think these players are sort of failed midfielders who said, "All right, drop back into defence," that kind of thing, and who are good technically on the ball and who can read the game. But when it comes to the physical hustle bustle, this is the top league for that. So I've still got question marks. So I'm a bit cautious about this transfer. I think they wanted Timber first. I would rather go with Timber. He looks a bit more physical and more rugged for the challenge. Anyway, we are moving on. That was my final word on it. Guys, I really do appreciate you guys for giving us some knowledge on Martinez, and we're going to find out in the next few days what's going to happen with that deal. Moving on now, we've got here Gnabry. Now, this is a guy who was at Arsenal. I'm going to ask Rebel if you wouldn't mind reading this out.
Yeah, no problem at all. Manchester United are set to jump into battle for Bayern Munich winger Serge Gnabry, obviously previously of Arsenal fame. Manchester United have joined the race for his signature in this window. The former Arsenal midfielder enters the final year of his Bayern contract this week. So Bild, the German paper, is saying United are interested in the Germany international as an alternative to prime attacking target Antony of Ajax. Tottenham are also keen to bring Gnabry back to England and London this summer. Last season, the 26-year-old scored 17 goals and produced 10 assists in 45 games. So pretty much a goal and got involvement every other game.
Wow. It's very interesting. This come out of the blue, I think, for a lot of us. We were looking at Antony, and this is seen as an alternative to Antony. The guy's 26. He knows what he's doing on the pitch. That's for sure. Over the last few years, he's been exceptional at Bayern Munich. So my question to you, SHAH, is why would Bayern Munich even be considering letting him go? I thought at one point he was amazing a couple of years ago, or the last couple of years. Why would they consider letting him go?
They have quite a few wingers, right? To be honest, and now they've added Mane to the squad. It's going to be quite an interesting one. I think Bayern Munich's depth and they've got the next generation of youngsters coming through as well, which seem to be doing very well. And I think there comes a time also when sometimes, like, he's been in the Bundesliga now for like 4 years. So there comes a time when, even players themselves, they realise they maybe want to go back and show what they can do as well. Quality, he's got knowledge, he's grown, His finishing's obviously been, I think we've seen some wonder goals from him in the Champions League as well. There was a couple of nice goals that he scored, right? And I think for Bayern Munich, they've been transitioning themselves out of some of the sort of players that are there. They're losing some of that generation of players soon. Lewandowski was going. So they're in a transition mode now, which was going to be expected after the last time they won the Champions League, because they still had some players floating around. So I think for him, maybe he sees himself coming over to us as an option, which would be a positive one. He can have an impact back on the Premier League. And the other side of it as well, Ten Hag's going to know Serge Gnabry first season, right? Because it wasn't until, 2018, I think, that they joined. So he's going to obviously hear good things about Serge Gnabry as well. Because I think, did he join when just before Pep was there, right? So just after Pep left, he joined, didn't he, Serge?
Right? I think he's been there since 2017. So
yeah,
wherever
before.
Yeah,
went to Werder Bremen after Arsenal.
That's it. And so that, for that, he's obviously proved that he can do it at another elite level, which he didn't quite do here before. So I think now he's at an age of 27, a bit more mature ahead, probably wants to show the world what he can do again. And why not do it at the best club in the world?
Coming to you, Colin. So we've got Serge Gnabry. I think he's a fantastic player. But just give us an idea about his attributes, what he's good at.
Well, I like Serge Gnabry. He's obviously very, very quick. But the issue I have is he prefers playing on the left-hand side. Right. Why are we looking for another left-handed side player when we've got Rashford who can play there, Sancho who can play there, and now we're looking at Gnabry. But yeah, I mean, stats-wise, he's good. Obviously, pass succession ratio is 82%. Like I said, he's fast, he's strong, he's not scared to run at players, he's not scared to take on players, he can put the ball in the box, he can shoot. And like all his stats from last season just show that. He's not as defensive. He doesn't really get stuck in on the defensive side. But the issue I have mainly with this whole deal is if Liverpool come in for him, because they are rumoured to be wanting Serge Gnabry, he's not coming to Manchester United. He will go to Liverpool because they need somebody in now as well.
Okay, Rebel, what do you think about Serge Gnabry as a player? Obviously, he's had a few injuries over the years. I don't know if that's still an issue. But as a player, where do you see him fitting into the Man United side?
I suppose the interesting thing with Serge Gnabry, obviously, with Bayern Munich, they don't tend to let players go that they want to keep. They tend to be able to hold on to any asset that they deem is integral to what they're trying to achieve. Now, obviously, the fact that he has 12 months to run his contract is a key issue for the German club, and they would probably not want to let him go for nothing next season. So if it is a case that they can't time down and they don't have use for him, they would rather get something rather than nothing for him. Looking at his play, he seems, even though he does favour the left, as been said previously, he has played the majority of his games out on the right-hand side of the pitch. He makes the starting 11 74% of the time. He plays 72% of the available minutes, and he has a 21% goal participation rate in the Bundesliga. But in terms of this player, I suppose the reality is Gnabry is somebody that we'd probably be settling for, because clearly Ten Hag wants Antony, and he's more interested in getting that deal done rather than going for somebody like Serge. But I think the decision that Old Trafford's going to have to make basically is, if Antony does not look likely, there's going to have to be a point where you say, okay, some of our other targets coming off the board, we need to move from one of them now. Is he the player that we want? Possibly not. He's turning 27 in July, so obviously hitting the prime of his career. But for the fact that he has 1 year left in his contract, the amount that they're looking for is quite high, in my opinion, because he only does have 1 year left in his contract. So the value for money in that does not seem to add up for me.
Very good points there, Rebel. I'm just going to go into the comments quickly. They're talking about previous, just to wind up on the Martinez thing as well. Once again, Bargav, thanks. He said, thanks, just had fun, love the channel. We love you, Bargav, thank you. Was there hi to Lambert? He said, realistically, centre-backs are everywhere in the Championship. Can't keep sourcing in the Dutch division and need to watch the budget as well. So that's airing a side of caution there from Lambert. Pat Lord is saying, humble, hard work and aggressive, and most of all versatile, so sign him up, talking about Martinez. Eddie's laughing. He said he heard his name called by myself. I like it because I was saying he doesn't really like transfer talk. He's like some occasion, he says, but the United's window has become a bit of a circus and can be a bit annoying. I do agree, yeah, because some of this stuff might not even transpire to be real. HG Gamer saying, Ajax, Chester, United, that's what we're going to be called. I have an interesting view on this. What if Martinez is back up to De Jong as in a 6 for the squad? That's a good shout. I like the idea. Haven't heard that one before. HG Game is also saying I'd rather have Timber though than Martinez, so we've winded up with the one Martinez there. So now we're talking about Serge Gnabry, and HG Game is saying ex-Arsenal, don't want him because he played for Arsenal once upon a time, but so did Robin van Persie. Pat Lord is saying, guys, what do you think of Serge Gnabry winning Bayern Munich Player of the Year in his first season, 18-19? Are Bayern cashing in, or is he a one-season wonder now injury prone? I want to talk about injuries, so I'll come to you in a minute, Callum, about the injuries, because that's still a question mark. Delboy Gunner, how you doing, man? He's always up for the crack. Good evening to Bill Baggio as well. He'll be back watching later. Lee Stewart, thinking Arsenal Fan TV, thinking it's just paper talk at the moment regarding this Gnabry deal. Lee Stewart, again, is saying rumours are rife that due to the height of Terrell and Martinez, it might be an issue. So the height of these two guys. So we maybe need to get someone that's taller. And TalkMU finally is saying there could be, and no doubt, there's a bit of gamesmanship here going on with Gnabry, sorry. Man United turning their eyes to another target to put pressure on Antony, to release Antony. Interesting that. I like that one. Yeah.
As you mentioned, crack, it does actually leave an opportunity to mention the upcoming United Agenda Fantasy Football League and show that will be coming to your screens next season.
What is that? Sounds exciting.
So, Man United Agenda will be offering a trophy to the winner of our Fantasy Football League, and to add some spice to the occasion, we will be doing a forfeit for the presenter that is on the United Agenda that finishes with the lowest points total at season end, and the commentators or the viewers, I should say, will have their opportunity to pick the forfeit. Now, we will have some terms and conditions to make sure that there's nothing illegal or dangerous, etc., or anything that would cost financially, but there will be some options open to pick the forfeit. So be on the lookout for the announcement on our social medias with the codes, and obviously we will be having a fantasy football show coming live to your screens next season. So Mr. Silver Fox and Gunner TV that I saw in the chat, you are more than welcome to participate and get involved. So if you can't, if you are interested in fantasy football, make sure you do get yourselves in there.
Colin,
Rebel,
will you be in that?
Just quickly, is there a prize? Is there anything that you can win?
There's a trophy.
What?
Yeah, we are sourcing that at the present event. Now, we probably will not be posting it to the winner, but what we will be doing is we will be engraving the winner's name and team name and year of victory on that cup, and we will send a commemorative photo to the victor, so they can hang it up on their wall and say, I am the champion of the United Agenda Fantasy Football League.
And I think if you do win that competition, you're likely to be the man of the year, the most person, probably the most knowledge of the Premiership as well. Because I think it's hard to predict at the start of the season what team to pick, with a certain money you have and that kind of thing. That's why I'm staying out of it, because I think it's too difficult for me. But talk about awards here. I've got to give an award for comment of the show so far, because Vincent's saying, hi guys, great show so far. But talking about you, Shah, bottom left, said you like Jonathan Coachman from WWE. Do you remember him?
Mate.
We're Googling him after the show. I remember him clearly. Yeah, there you go. And do you want to say hi to Silver Fox?
Thanks, Vince.
From Arsenal fan from Armory TV, Tony Silver Fox. does some brilliant work behind the scenes. We love you, Tony. I hope you're doing well, bro. So I was going to ask you about the injuries column about Serge Gnabry. Do you think he's over the injuries? What's your view on that? Because maybe he's a bit of a crook that they're selling us.
Well, he's had a lot of injuries, hasn't he, through his career? Let's put it that way. I don't think he got injured that much last season, so he might be coming back from it. I know, obviously, he's had quite a lot of injuries. Like I said, he's had adductor problems, hamstring problems, knee problems, back problems, Achilles tendon problems, muscular problems, thigh problems, you name it. You name whatever kind of problem, he's probably had it. He's probably got a sick note for it, in all fairness. And I don't think somebody that can have that many injuries in his space of career can be called perfectly fit and fine. I think one bad knock, we're going to lose him. If we get him one bad knock in the game, because like you said, the Premier League is a physical league. If he picks up another injury, he might be out for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever. I think it's a big risk to take on, especially when, like I said, he's had a lot of injuries in his career so far.
So just to finish up, I'm just going to run it through the panel. Short answers, please. Nice and punchy. We need to move on. Gnabry, do you think it's realistic? Do you think it's worth putting him in the pot as backup just in case Antony falls through? What are your thoughts? Final thoughts, please. I'll start with you, Shah. Punchy.
Okay, punch, knock. We're going to say Gnabry is probably going to not... I personally wouldn't spend 60 million on Gnabry.
Yep. Rebel, you've said that as well because a year left in his contract. You did say it's a bit pricey. So what's your overall thoughts then?
That combined with the injury possibilities and him not being available, year left in his contract, it doesn't represent value for money for me. And we could probably get another target for better value. I'll be honest with you.
Okay. Guys, we're going to move on now. Just 24 in the comments. Give us a like if you feel free. It only just costs a little click of your button. We appreciate you. So we're going on to any other business now. And I think Rebel's going to take over here because this is Rebel's forte. He loves the news. He loves surfing the web and to find out what's really going down. So should I just go with the banners or are you happy to talk about certain things freestyle?
I'll freestyle this one, a bit like Will Smith.
Okay, over to you then. Over to you. I'm looking at my pillow.
The first one we have is Romano has said in an article today that Dumfries, the right back, would be excellent in the Premier League, and at £26 million value, he could be someone that we could get that would represent a small fraction of our transfer budget. And in addition to that, United are now open to loaning Fernandez, our young left back. They're also looking at Nottingham Forest are interested in a deal for Williams. So that's 2 left backs that could end up leaving in the not too distant future. Bruno Fernandes has said that the glory days will return to Manchester United. So let us know what you think about the return of the glory days, if that is a possibility in the not too distant future. A player that TalkMU actually loves, Will Fish, has actually signed a new contract. So
how much does he love it? How much of talking you love this guy?
It's a great player, mate. He's had a very good academy time, hasn't he? So well deserved.
Ten Hag is also apparently shifting his wingmer to Yuri Tillemans. So another midfield reinforcement if that was to come across the line. We've already mentioned about the Antony Elanga almost record-breaking box jump. So obviously he has quite a bit of strength in those leg muscles, so maybe we're going to see him try and head the ball a bit more in the coming season if he is getting that kind of leap. Crystal Palace are entering the race for our pre-season Pirlo, Andreas Pereira, so maybe there will be a bit of a duel between them and Fulham, so at least there's options apparently on the table. Borussia Dortmund have set a mouth-watering price tag for Jude Bellingham at 120 million euros, but I think Liverpool seem to be floating around him with quite some time, so more than likely he will probably be going to Merseyside at some point. Forest are aiming to complete the loan move for Dean Henderson in the coming days. And now, going back to the right-sided midfielders, Antony, the new Ajax coach, has stated that he's very calm about the situation that is ensuing around possible threatened strike strike action by Antony if a move is not facilitated to Old Trafford. Eric Ten Hag has been seen instigating pass and move drills, and they have been very prevalent throughout training since they returned yesterday. Ten Hag also has stated he will resist any moves for Scott McTominay and made interest from Newcastle, who are looking to try and see if they could manoeuvre a deal for the player. And on Sky Sports, a report today said there's a long way to go in the Frankie de Jong deal. This seems to be at odds with reports that we have got from Fabrizio in the last few days. Obviously, there's still some personal terms and all that to be negotiated, but the Sky reporter saying we are nowhere near done. And finally, it would appear that the fees that have been agreed, according to some reports, would represent around 50% of the transfer budget that is available to us this season. So that is the news in brief as the media is reporting.
I'm over to you, Colin. Anything to add? Any other business? I think Rebels covered a lot of it, but maybe you've got something that you've dug up.
Yeah. Literally just 18 minutes ago, this has come up, and it's from Florian Plettenberg, so Petty Goal on Twitter. Update: De Jong. Ten Hag wanted him. He will get him. The deal is in the final stages. De Jong is on the verge of joining MUFC. Been told that the De Jong could be presented at the weekend. It's not 100% safe right now, but there are plans to present him at the stadium this weekend.
Wow.
And that came out 18 minutes ago.
That's hot off the press. SHAH, you got anything to add? Any other business?
Obviously some talk about Tielemans is being started around as well, which is an interesting one at the moment. I think we've talked about him quite a few times on the show as someone that we actually admire. I think that Leicester game when they beat us 3-0, I think it was one of those games that we just saw someone just really command that back line. I think there's also some transitional players coming out of the academy that have been missed out as well, which we're going to be seeing in those sort of similar positions and have a similar style of play, but just maybe not the senior amount of experience. So someone like Tielemans, if you're going to have 60 million to spend, why not spend 30 million on Tielemans?
Pretty cheap for a quality player, I'd say. I'm just going to read this one out. Alex Telles, because obviously we've got a left back coming in. Alex Telles is in limbo at Man United. Alex Telles' future at Man United is in doubt. The Manchester Evening News say new manager Eric Ten Hag has already informed the Brazilian fullback he won't be seeing a lot of first-team action should he choose to stay next season. With a deal for final left back Terrell Malacia, now close to completion, Telles' future has been cast in doubt. However, it's suggested Ten Hag won't demand Telles to be transfer listed and instead would be willing for him to stay and fight for his place. United rate the former Porto fullback at £18 million. And just to add to that as well, we should do a little comparison here. We got some stats. You're going to love this, Colin. Do you want to just go through this, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. So these are Malacia stats versus Telles, Williams, and Shaw. So obviously you can see at the top there's goals. Malacia's got 1, Shaw none, Telles none, Brandon Williams none. Assists: Telles 4, Malacia 4, Luke Shaw 3, Williams 1. Shots per 90: Malacia 1.6, Telles 0.5, Luke Shaw 0.3, and Brandon Williams 0.2. Successive dribbles per 90 is success rate: Malacia 1.6 or 66.6%. Brandon Williams 0.8, 50%. Alex Telles 0.7, 58.3%. Luke Shaw 0.4, 50%. Fouls 1 per 90. Brandon Williams is on 1.9. Malacia is 1.1. Luke Shaw 0.9. Alex Telles 0.5. Passes per 90 minutes. Success rate, it's Malacia on 57.0, and that's an average of 85.3%. Luke Shaw 51.9, average of 84.1%. Telles 50.7, average of 80.3%. Brandon Williams 39.6, average of 81.8%. You got your chances created per 90 as well. Luke Shaw 2.2, Telles 1.4, Malacia 1.1, Brandon Williams 0.9. Then you got your successful tackles per 90, success rate. Malacia 2.7, success rate 72.9%. Alex Telles, 2.6 successive and 74.2. Brandon Williams at 2.3 with 65.7. Luke Shaw, 1.2 at 70.5. And then you've got your interceptions per 90 as well, with Williams there at 1.9, Tellers at 1.4, Malacia at 1.1, Luke Shaw at 0.5, and then you got your clearances with Tellers 2.3, Williams 1.9, Malacia 1.2, and Shaw dead last at 1.
I'm going to leave these stats up for a minute while we quickly just discuss them, because I think I'm not really a data guy or stats man, but what are you reading from this, Callum?
What I'm reading from this really is the defensive capabilities of each player. So what we can see is when we're looking down here, like interceptions, for instance, we can see that Brandon Williams has got decent interceptions per 90, but then again, he was playing in a team that was constantly being attacked, so that's probably why that's higher. Malacia, obviously, new signing, is there in between Tellez and Shaw, which with a 1.1, which is quite impressive, even for the difference in quality in leagues. It's still impressive, so I think that'll grow. Obviously, then you've got your passes and your successful dribbles and your assists and everything. So it just basically shows you, stats-wise, how well-rounded they are in attack and defense and holding the ball and passing the ball. And it's just more of an in-depth, detailed stat that you can see there of how they play per 90.
So obviously these stats are from the Dutch division from last season. One thing that stands out to me is successful dribbles per 90, and it's 1.6 from the Malacia. Rebel, you got anything to add to that? What stands out for you?
Well, obviously, when we were discussing Malacia the last night, we did mention his goal involvements, and there was, I believe, a Dutch fella in our chat, and he said, well, he was putting it on a plate for them, it's just that they couldn't finish their dinner. So with a higher quality target, maybe we will see his goal involvements and his assist totals rise in a Manchester United setting. Obviously, the fact that he's able to dribble, that does fill me with confidence, because again, his dribbling ability will obviously yield maybe more attacking possibilities, and again, more crossing opportunities, which may lead to more goals. And again, that will be beneficial to United in attack. So there's plenty positives in there. And I suppose the one thing I will say, though, we're mentioning that Telles is being marketed at a certain value. We're saying that Williams, it might be targeted by Nottingham Forest. We're saying that United are open to letting Fernandez go. So that would just leave Malacia and Shaw. So you'd imagine they're going to want to keep one of Williams or Fernandez at club, because you're going to need that third layer of coverage, unless they're saying, look, if we manage to secure Martinez, he'll be our third layer.
Shah, final word on this with the stats comparing the players. Is there anything that you want to sort of add to this regarding who you think's the weakest link?
Who I think's the weakest link? In what sense? Like out of the ones, the stats we're talking, in any particular area?
We're talking about left backs here.
Okay, right. So with the left backs situation, I think the weakest link, we have to really admit at the moment, is probably Brandon Williams, and that's probably just because of the lack of maturity and playing for where he was. Like Com said, he's getting attacked 38 games, and he's absolutely got some great interceptions. I think what we see with Brandon Williams is a little bit of heart. That maturity still probably needs to come. He probably played his most mature season throughout his career, learned a lot, travelled a lot, and obviously he played in a place that probably will, if it was 2 years on, we're probably talking a bit about different stats with Brandon Williams. I definitely think that, because he is a forward player and he does like to have that kind of chance to take on a player. So for me, it would be Williams. That would probably be the weakest link, but I wouldn't sell him. I'll put him out on loan, and I'd actually keep Tellez, because I think the fact that Shaw is injured the last 2 seasons, when we've lost him for about, let's just say some important games, 12 to 16 games, it causes a bit of problem. The other thing as well is, actually, if Shaw does stay and Martial comes back, their link-up play was really good in that season. So for me, I wouldn't want Shaw to go. based on the fact that we've seen some, consistently good seasons out of him when he hasn't been injured.
Okay, so we'll go for some final comments. I know there's Rebels got
Before you
a few words
do,
to say. Let's just do the comments quickly, and then I'll come to you, Rebel, straight afterwards. So Eddie's saying Dumfries would be awesome, big, strong, good on the ball, and he has a great Euro tournament too, where he was involved in half the team's goals for Holland. Obviously, we're saying hi to Silver Fox. He said, get Rebel on news round straight away. The way he delivered those reports there was fantastic. I think Column's got everyone excited because he's saying, well done, lads. Good to pick Tellez over Shaw the other night. But really, he's excited here going, woohoo, because of what was said about, he's gassed about De Jong could be shown on Saturday. Thanks, Column. You're getting everyone excited this time of night. And over to you, Rebel. You're going to mention something.
Well, it's not Manchester United news, but it is breaking transfer news. Fabrizio Romano, in the last 20 minutes, has said there's full agreement between Richarlison's representatives and Tottenham Hotspur on personal terms. Long-term contract has been agreed with his new agents, waiting to complete the deal with Everton. It's not a here we go, but it's as close to here we go as he can give.
Making moves. That's what we like to see. Premiership is the best league in the world, I reckon, at the moment. Very tough teams out there. It's going to be difficult, but we're excited, aren't we, as Man United fans, of what we're doing at our club, and that's what we're going to focus on. Just final, I want to say, Rebel, thanks a lot for coming on and delivering once again. SHAH, thank you so much for your insight into the game. Obviously, you're going to be there front row at the stadium throughout the season for all the home games, and maybe joined by a Column. Column, do you go to home games at all?
I try and get to as many home games as I can. With my new job, hopefully I'll be there a lot more.
Brilliant. I'll say big up because you've been brilliant today again with the data and the stats and bringing in the breaking news stories as well, off the cuff, hot off the press. So we appreciate you. And most of all, we appreciate all you guys in the comments. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for throwing in a lot of really interesting information there. Pat Lawless, Bath Time. You know who you are. I'm not going to read out all your names, but we really do appreciate you guys. Don't forget, we'll be back at 8:30 tomorrow with more news from the Man United agenda. And obviously, 10 o'clock on Friday, we've got the takeaway, which will include TalkMU and guests with Mr. B, and a lot more to come over the next coming weeks. As we said, we've got the fantasy football, we've got tactical breakdown show, we've got pre-match reviews, we've got watch-alongs. It's all going on in the Man United agenda. And follow us on Twitter, TikTok as well, and all sort of social medias. We're always there, always around. And we've got a community page as well with updated news on the YouTube channel. So make sure you tune in. Thanks for tuning in tonight. God bless you guys. Give everyone a wave. And we're out.